Is President Biden pardoning his son unconstitutional? I think we need to look more at the whole totality of what he did. Does he have the right to do so? By the Constitution, he does. Under Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the U.S. Constitution, a president does have the power to issue a pardon for all federal charges with the exception of impeachment. Here, I think we need to look at Hunter Biden, who is the president's son. Is that morally the right way he should have done things? Or is it within his power to do so? I think it creates a big talk and controversy.
Guns, drugs,
and rock and roll, and presidential.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think that this is standard for time for a president to pardon his son. I mean, if I'm the president of the United States and my son's convicted of lying on gun applications because of his mental illness or because he's addicted to drugs to get a firearm, good time. Let's pardon him. Let's move on and forget about what we told the world about how we're not gonna pardon his son.
That's what makes it problematic, really, right? Presidents have been pardoning their friends, their family members, for decades, and that's in the Constitution. They're allowed to do it. It is what it is. But in this situation, we had a very contentious presidential election. Part of that was Biden, and what is he going to do? Was he in the race? Was he out of the race? And Hunter, regardless of what your politics are, and regardless of what you feel about the case, he got charged, he got convicted, and then President said, "I promise, I'm not going to pardon my son. He should do the time that he's going to do," and he went back on it, and that is very, very problematic and sets an awful precedent, for the future, not just the incoming president, but the president after him and the president after that person. It's not a good look. It's really not. But if my son, if we were in my, Josh, you've got sons. You've got children. If you have the ability to get your children out of the fire, you're probably going to do it. But maybe don't tell the nation you're not first.
Well, the other thing too is I think based on, like I said, the climate of the election, of the last two elections, frankly, with tensions being so high, President Biden probably believed that he was going to win another term, or if he wasn't, Kamala Harris would have won the presidency and continued the legacy for another 4 years, which would have maybe had a softer approach as far as a conviction on Hunter Biden at that time. But because there's going to be now a transition of power to President Trump, this is the 11th hour. He has to make a call one way or the other.
Two things I want to bring up. First, what kind of political backlash we would have heard in the media if Trump would have pardoned his kid for drugs and guns, right? This would have blown up the internet even more so than what we just went through with this political campaign. And I can't even imagine what kind of comments the media would have made. And second, the whole moral issue with whether or not you should be able to pardon your children, understood the president does have the pardoning power, right? I would think that these would be for cases that may have gone either way. It's clear as day that Hunter Biden had issues, lied on applications to get a gun, had drug-related issues. Should there be some sort of moral turpitude that goes into place when making these decisions? It's not like a contested, verdict on a bench where he pretty much admitted to pleading guilty to these felony charges.
But just so everybody knows, a pardon from a president only deals with federally related charged crimes.
Yeah, not state.
Hunter Biden committed a state crime. The president does not have the power under his pardoning power, his Clemency Act, to pardon a person who's charged with a state crime. A governor would.
And that's you bring up a good point, Josh, because a lot of the pardons in at least the recent past, whether it was Obama or anyone before him, you're talking about nonviolent drug offenders, people who have, a young kid who did an armed robbery at the age of 17 or 18 who's been in jail for 40 years, letting them out, things like that. The pardons have been more about justice than about personal benefit. That's what rubs the wrong way on this one, and time will tell what kind of precedent this sets. And gloves are off when it comes to pardons at this point, and that's unfortunate.
And like you mentioned, the entire political party that supported Biden, every single person that got on the media that talked about this pardon, the law is the law. We abide the law. The law is the law. We're not going to pardon him. No, we're not going to pardon him. We're not going to, over and over and over again. It was like the most redundant thing that was said out there. And then all of a sudden it's like, whatever. Guns and drugs. Who cares? Let's let him go.
That's the problem. You can't have it one way when it works for you and one way when it doesn't work for you. Either you enforce it all the time or you don't enforce it. And here, there's no dispute. I think everybody would agree. Hunter Biden is not a good person. Hunter Biden has made a lot of mistakes and continues to make mistakes. And frankly, will probably make another mistake going forward. The issue is, Does Joe Biden, as a father, have a right to pardon his son being
Not-
president?
not-
And the answer is
yeah,
yes.
As a president, yeah, not as a father, yeah.
As a father,
Yeah.
you know, that's going to be his angle to why he did it. Of
course.
But again, as we know, Hunter Biden massively sat and on the board of an international big conglomerate and got paid millions of dollars. He does not have that expertise to do so, but because he knew, quote unquote, the big guy. I mean, there's a lot of nonsense that's behind the scenes.
Well, nepotism is ripe everywhere, you know, in politics and government and big business and wherever you're going. Sports, I mean, it just is. But in this instance, did he have the power to do it? Yes. Should he have? Probably not.
Speaking of pardon power, we just got word that Donald Trump is going to pardon all the January 6th rioters or patriots, whichever side you're on. Again, this is going to raise a lot of media comments. I'm sure plenty of people are going to be against it. These are convicted felons. What's going on? They attacked the federal building. But again, does Donald Trump have the power to pardon these individuals as the incoming president of the United States? So like, comment, subscribe. Happy to discuss this further. Pardon powers of the president of the United States.